Hi friends, I know you're all working on our writing homework and I thought I would just walk you through one of the more challenging questions that you had in practice 5. This is number 4 on practice 5 and it's one of the questions that you had to write your own sentence, okay? So here's one way I suggest you do this to make it easier. You can rewrite the sentence in chunks. They may not be perfect chunks, but if you break up the sentence and then substitute each part, that might be easier. So number 4 says, Alan and Tom and Joe leaned on their shovels under a tree in the apple orchard, watching the worms they had dug squirming on a rock. So what I'm going to do is just replace each chunk with my own chunk. Okay? So you could say, instead of Alan, Tom, and Joe, you could say Claire and Noelle and Natasha. Instead of leaned on their shovels, you could say, so here's where you want to think. This is my subject. These 3 girls, Claire, Noelle, and Natasha. What are they doing? What is being said about Claire, Noelle, and Natasha? In the model, what was the action? They were watching the worms they had dug squirming on a rock. Okay? So we have to decide first of all, what are these girls doing? I chose that they were picking flowers. Picking the flowers. They had found. Growing. Okay, so instead of squirming, growing in the garden. Okay, I'm going to show you, that's not actually the sentence I ended up with, but I want to show you the process of how we have to rethink and rewrite sentences. So now that we know the subject and what the sentence is about and what is being said about the sentence, this is a positive phrase. It's describing what Claire, Noelle, and Natasha are doing while they are picking the flowers, okay? So now that we know what the main action is, now we can think of what could they be doing while they're picking flowers. I chose held onto, so instead of leaned on, I put held onto. Okay, this is a preposition, their shovels. So held on to what? I put their baskets. Maybe they're putting flowers in a basket. Okay, held on to their baskets. Instead of under a tree, we could say next to the shed. Okay, so instead of being under a tree, they are next to a shed. And then instead of in the apple orchard, I put in the backyard. Okay? Now let's read the sentence and see if it's a good sentence. Claire, Noelle, and Natasha held onto their baskets next to a shed in the backyard, picking the flowers they had found growing in the garden. That doesn't sound quite right to me. And when I reread this, it's because I have 2 conflicting locations. I have the backyard and I have the garden. So it's confusing. Is the garden in the backyard? Are the flowers growing next to the shed? Or are the flowers somewhere else in the backyard? So what I need to do is to choose which location I want to go with. In this case, I am going to choose the garden. Okay, so instead of grow next to a shed in the backyard, I'm going to just go with garden, in the garden. Okay, and now I need to replace that word. So Claire, Noel, and Natasha held onto their baskets next to a shed in the garden, picking the flowers they had found growing. Instead of in the garden, where in the garden? I'm going to write by the fence. Now let's read it again out loud so we can hear it. Claire and Noel and Natasha held onto their baskets next to a shed in the garden, picking the flowers they had found growing by the fence. I think that is more focused. There's less confusion. Okay, so as you have to write your own sentences, I suggest maybe chunking them vertically and then just replacing them next to each chunk. Replace each chunk with your own words. Decide what the sentence is about, or who the sentence is about, and what is being said about the sentence. That's what we talked about on Monday or on Tuesday. Okay? And then you can see the relationship between the different parts of the sentence. Only after I knew that picking the flowers is what is the main action, then I knew, okay, I need to choose something that they're doing while they're picking the flowers. Okay, so you really have to study the model sentence. It might take a while, and that's okay. This is writing. It takes a long time. It's thinking. Okay? If you need more examples, tell Mom to let me know, and I can make more videos. Okay, hope this helps. And I'm praying for all of you, and I know you'll do a great job. And don't worry if it's hard. We can do some together in class on Tuesday. Okay, I will find out how it went for you this week. All right, thanks for all your hard work. Bye.